Hey everybody, what's going on? Josh here with Scrapyard Films, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make an intro, specifically the Santa Clarita Diet intro. It's a show on Netflix and it has a pretty interesting intro. I saw it and I was like, hey, I can make that. Let me show people how to do it. And I want to give a special shout out to Zortech. They were the first one to comment on my last video, so go check out their channel because they are awesome. So I'm going to show you what we're going to be making right now. And if you want to make something like that, stick around and let's go through this tutorial. So to start this off, I want to preface we can do everything inside Vegas itself, but to make it faster, if you have Photoshop, that's going to make it a lot easier. And I can provide the files that I created for you guys in the download link below, so you guys don't have to make any of these files or find these files. All the stuff I'm going to be using, you can use too. So let's go ahead and load up Vegas Pro 16. In here, I have the Santa Clarita Diet, and we're going to play this real quick so we know what we're going to be matching. Pretty easy. So first thing we want to point out is it's kind of zooming in, which is okay. So we're going to add that after the fact. And then we have a blood drop that falls from above the camera and then splatters. And then we see blood splatter. And then right when the blood splatters, we have a blood wall falling down the word diet. So to do that, it's fairly easy. So let's get started. In your files that you have downloaded for this project, if you go ahead and drag in the table set blank, we're going to have that there. And now we need to make our words. You're going to have to make it say whatever you want. So it's pretty easy. Let's insert a new video track by right click, inserting video track, and above it. And if you go to media generators and scroll down, you'll see legacy text. And I like to drag in the default text on there because I can use more fonts that way. So we're going to be doing this twice, but the first one, we're going to put the top text and we're going to put the bottom word, the one the blood's going to go over, on a separate text. So this one, we're just going to say Scrapyard Films. How about that? And then we highlight it all, choose a font, something scary maybe, because, you know, we're dealing with blood and blood scary. I like 28 Days Later. That's my one of my favorite fonts. I'll unbold it so we can see it a little better. And I'm going to shrink the word Scrapyard, the font size, by selecting it and scrolling up. And then I'm going to increase films by selecting it and scrolling down. Then I'm going to place it, you know, how about there? It looks pretty good. And then so we close that, right click on the upper video track and do insert new video track, and it'll create a blank one above it. Hold control on your text and click and drag it up, and it will create a copy. Hit OK. And in this copy, we are going to put just about diet. And then we're going to highlight it and scroll down and make it just as big as films, maybe a little smaller, and then go to our placement. And then we're going to drag it down. That looks pretty good to me. And in the properties of this one, we are actually going to be making this one green. So if you go to your reds and then select all the numbers, hit 0, and then go to your blues and then hit 0, it's going to make it green. The purest green it can be. And then we're done with there. In the bottom text, the Scrapyard Films part, we are going to do the properties and then click in the colors and drag all the way to the bottom, and it's going to be black. So once we're done with that, we are good to go. So make sure your resolution up here is on best full. And then you're going to click the little floppy disk and we're going to take a screenshot of it. Once it's loaded up, we're going to call this plate with text. And then I like saving them as PNGs over JPEGs. That's just my favorite. Hit save, and then it's going to show up in our project media right there, plate with text. So we click that and drag it into the timeline. We now have what we just created, and that's going to be our plate and basically our scene at this point. So let's get that out of the way. We don't need this section of stuff anymore, so we're just going to start working over here. First thing we want to do is go to Video Effects, and we're going to go down to a Chroma Keyer. So you can either use Chroma Keyer Pro or Chroma Keyer, whichever one you have. Chroma Keyer comes default in Vegas, and so I'm going to use that one for you. And then we're going to do Pure Green Screen. Drag it onto the text, and it's going to take away that green. So basically, it is cookie cuttered the green out of it, and it's showing what's behind this, which is black. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the blood drop. So the blood drop is, let's go at our real intro right here and look at it, and we're going to do this frame by frame. So I'm going to scroll up to zoom in and go frame by frame till I see the blood. Okay, blood right there. So I'm going to split the clip with S and then go forward all the way till it splatters. Right back here. Bam, there's the impact. So we have a blood dropping. We select the center section for 1 second and 18 frames. That's perfect. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna drag in a blood drop from the file that I created for you guys. And we're gonna drag it over top of it. And then we're going to shrink it to the size of the entire fall. So now it's above this real blood drop, so we can kind of size it the way we want. Open the crop menu and let's drag the marker to the beginning, maybe 1 frame in so we could see kind of the radius we want it to be. So in our crop menu, we drag this over here so you can see it, and I'm gonna shrink it a little bit. So what we wanna do is make sure you're selected on the first frame of the crop menu's timeline, and we're gonna zoom in, and that's gonna make it real big. And once we have it zoomed in, if you go over here to your left near the size about center, you'll see the move freely. Click that to where it's only up and down, and then I'll allow you to move it only up and down, which is great. Looks like we actually need to move it just a little bit to the side, right there. So we zoomed in enough. It looks like it's about the same size as that blood drop. So what we're gonna do is drag it just a little bit down. Let's make sure we turn move freely back to up and down, and we're gonna drag it just a little bit out of frame. Now we're gonna zoom in all the way to the end, and we want to match it right there. So let's drag our blood drops timeline all the way to the end, and we are going to zoom out, all the way out, pretty far. So if you click on the main timeline and hit the left arrow once, it's gonna go back 1 keyframe. So you can see kind of where your blood drop is gonna end. So we wanna make sure it is pretty small. That looks pretty small right there. And then let's make sure move freely is enabled on all areas so we can move it where we want it. Perfect. Okay. So now let's look and see what it looks like if we play it with the other blood drop. Okay, so ours shrinks faster than that one. So we right click on the first keyframe of our crop menu's timeline, we see a list of options, and this is basically how it's going to be moving from this keyframe to this keyframe. We have 6 different options here. Smooth is kind of like it's a quick then slow then quick curve, and that one's probably going to be the one we're going to choose. So we select that and we play, see what it looks like. That looks pretty good to me, so we're going to go with that. You can adjust it however you want, but we're just gonna stick with this one for this purposes. So let's close that. Next thing we're gonna do is make the blood splatter. So drag in the blood splatter PNG and let's put it on a video track. And if your blood splatter looks kind of weird, it's because of the alpha channel. You just right click it, go to properties, go to media tab, scroll down to alpha channel and do straight unmatted. Hit OK. Now we got a little blood splatter, which is perfect. So what we're gonna do is move the blood splatter under the drop. So let's drag the video track on the left-hand side and drag it under this video track and it'll switch places with it. So we're gonna click the blood splatter and zoom in a little bit, right where they transition, and we wanna line them up. So if we go back 1 frame with the left arrow, we can see where that blood drop ends, and then we're gonna drag the blood splatter 1 over, and we're gonna open its crop menu and we're gonna position it under that blood drop. So it looks dead center right about there. So we're gonna go click on the first keyframe of the blood splatters timeline in the crop menu, zoom in a little bit, and if you hit the forward arrow, you can move up keyframes. So I think I like the second keyframe. Let's hit the plus sign and insert a keyframe. Go back to the first one and we're gonna resize that one. We're gonna scroll out and then I'm gonna drag the corner and then make it real small, really small like that. Perfect. And then now we need to move it back in front of the blood drop because it moved out of place. Okay, now we've done that. Let's see what we look like. So now in 2 keyframes, it'll splatter out. Like that. Let's see what the whole thing looks like right here. All right, so we'll keep that size for that blood splatter just to show the effect. Next, we're gonna right click on the lowest video track, and then we're gonna do insert another video track. And this is where we're gonna move our plate. So we're gonna move our plate with our name right here. We have that, and we're gonna move this completely out of the way. I'm gonna delete it because we don't need it anymore. So this blood drop looks extremely fake. I mean, you can see it like clearly it's fake. I mean, I'm blurred it a little bit at the top there, but that still doesn't look the best. So we're gonna make it look a little more realistic. We could do that with Gaussian Blur. In our video effects, if we scroll down to the G's, we can go to Gaussian Blur, and we're gonna do, let's drag light blur on there for right now. And that blurs it up a little bit, makes it look even a lot more realistic just with that bit. So we're going to click the little animation keyframes beside these numbers, each one, and it's gonna create our 2 little keyframes down here for animation. And we're gonna select the first keyframe, make sure it's selected with a little white around the circle, and we're gonna make that 3. I'm gonna change that 1 to a 3 in the horizontal range. Then we're gonna change the 1 to a 3 in the vertical range. And that just made them both very blurry. And then we are going to right click on these keyframes down here. And we're gonna do a smooth fade just like our blood drop was on both of them. Right click, smooth fade. Now let's drag our timeline of our animation all the way to the end. And we're going to take away this 3, put a 0 there, and then we're gonna change this to a 5. So take away the 3, put a 0, and the second digit slot, put a 5. So that's gonna really reduce the blur. And if you drag the timeline, you'll see it moving from very blurry to very not blurry. But we still wanna add a little bit of blur in there to keep it looking a little realistic. So we click the blood drop and we're gonna go forward. And it looks like it's just a little too blurry right there. So let's adjust that. And let's change this from smooth to fast. And then change this one from smooth to fast. And that looks a lot better. So let's see what that looks like. Perfect. And now we need the blood fall. So let's drag our blood fall in to the bottom video track right here. So, but for right now, we're gonna switch the bottom video track and the second to bottom, we're gonna switch places. So we see that the blood is over all the text. And it's okay, we're gonna change this back later, but we're just gonna animate it real quick and position it just right. So to start off, we're gonna open the crop tool and we are going to make sure this is covering diet entirely, which it is. So let's click the move freely and just do up and down. And we're at the very beginning keyframe. And so we are going to drag it up to right there where the word diet starts. Okay, and at the very end, we're gonna go maybe like 4 seconds right here. We click that far in the timeline, it'll be at the 4-second mark, and we want to completely engulf it. But to see our end result, we drag our marker on our main timeline all the way to the right, and then if now we adjust this, we'll see the end result. So we want it to be completely covered, just like that. So we move our marker back in the timeline, we'll see it covers diet. Let's also right-click on this keyframe and make it smooth as well. So we close this. We're gonna switch these tracks back. So now it's under it, and let's see what we got. Okay, so it looks like that blood started too early because we want that to start after it splatters. So we move that there. We can extend these clips out to match it. So let's see what that looks like. Perfect. And that's gonna wrap it up. We have completed the intro. So if you wanted, you can add a lot more effects to this, like vignetting, LUTs, active camera, things like that to make it look a little more interesting. And so, you know, that's all on you. I just wanna show you guys how to do the basics because I like watching things and seeing if I could do it in Vegas. And that's gonna wrap it up. And if you want, I have links in the description below for everything, kind of like these cool shirts. And Vegas 17's coming out next month. I got a giveaway going on right now. So stay tuned and like and subscribe if you want, you know, there's no pressure. I'm trying to make 1 billion subscribers by the end of the year, so maybe you can help me get 1 billion. And so that's gonna wrap it up, and I will see you guys in the next video. Just a heads up, these are my current patrons. They all support me for $1 a month. It's very cheap, and you can too. And don't forget to subscribe and click that little bell notification next to the subscribe button, because that notifies you whenever I pump out a new video. And if you're the first person to comment on the video, you get a special shout out in my next video. So thanks again for watching.